Greetings again, my beans. My name is Luunaathh, and I will and welcome to my second panel of this winter's Draconic Summit. In this presentation, I will try to be detailing almost everything one needs to know regarding dragonkind, awakening as draconic, and the draconic or dragonkind experience in general. This panel is really sort of an extension of my Draconity resource, which I have titled A Lyco-Draconic Werewolf's Comprehensive Guide to the Dragonkind Experience, on my Dreamwidth page. I will be speaking about specific topics and experiences in the order that they are listed on the Dreamwidth journal I just mentioned. Lost my place. And linked in our current panel chat room. So feel free to follow along with this panel by reading said resource. This panel, despite the name, is really not meant to be a lecture, though rather a discussion invoker and a question invoker. There are many, many, many different ways to experience Draconity and otherkinity. This panel is meant to detail most, if not all, experiences with Draconity. Latter statement's kind of impossible, although I try. So having input from everyone in the audience about their experiences with Draconity, their beliefs, and how they define Draconity is very important, especially for a panel like this. Everyone is free to provide their viewpoints in chat or by speaking up on stage whenever I am finished reading everything on my script. Again, individuals will be allowed to come and speak on stage when I'm finished reading everything in my script, to ask questions, detail their unique experiences with Draconity, or detail something they believe I forgot to elaborate on in my script. If you want to speak on stage, it is recommended that you write down whatever you wish to speak about, so you do not forget what to say. Now I will switch to my resource. I'll skip the introduction on it. On the section of defining otherkind, dragonkind, and Draconity. For those reading or listening who are just now beginning to learn about the concept of otherkind or dragonkind, I will give a brief rundown about the concept of otherkind. To be otherkind, or otherkin, which is another commonly used term in the community, is to identify us in some way, shape, or form as a non-human animal or being. Otherkind identity manifests in a few different forms, such as spiritual, psychological, concurrent life, past life, future life, linking identity, and even within plural systems. These are not the only ways to define Draconity. Otherkinity, though. There are other labels and other terms that individuals feel fit them. Those are not, the ones I mentioned are not the only ones. For many in the otherkind community, otherkinity is a spiritual experience. We're navigating memories of past lives or concurrent lives, intangible, spectral, or phantasmal limbs, phantom shifts, and primal instincts are common experiences encountered by them. However, for many others in the community, their otherkinity is psychological and centered more around non-human identity itself and non-human experience, rather than spiritual aspects or experiences. Those are the two, I would say, main ones. Though again, as I said before, there are other kinds of labels and identities that individuals who are otherkind use to describe themselves, since they feel that psychological or spiritual are not labels that properly encompass their identity. There are many varied, unique terms that individuals who identify as otherkind or otherkin describe themselves and their experiences with. You will commonly see coining posts regarding these labels and the definitions behind them. Similar to the aforementioned description of otherkind, to be dragonkind or dragonkin, which is a commonly used term, or draconic, is to identify in some way, shape, or form as a dragon or otherwise draconic being. These draconic identities have the same variety as general otherkind identities. Many dragonkind, or maybe many, maybe some, I'm not sure. Doggy, what you doing? Some dragonkind feel that the labels spiritual or psychological do not properly encompass their experiences, so they use other terms. Let's see, many individuals in the dragonkind community describe their experiences with Draconity as either spiritual or psychological in nature, or by other miscellaneous terms or identities. Experiencing past life, concurrent life memories, species dysphoria or euphoria, draconic instincts, non-human phantom shifts or intangible limbs, and a general altered mindset in this life. These are not experiences that are required to be dragonkind, however. They are only some common experiences that dragonkind experience. As is the same with other kind, there are many individual terms used to describe individual experiences with dragonkind or Draconity, feeling that broader terminology does not properly convey or describe their experiences with Draconity. Personally, I coined a term called Lyco-Draconic, which I believe better encompasses my experiences than just the term Draconity or dragonkind. Lyco-Draconic, as a definition, is essentially defined as a wolf who identifies with the draconic experience, or a wolf, or a canid, whatever, who considers themselves draconic, either by identifying with the draconic experience or being draconic in another way, shape, or form. There is a subsection of Draconity and draconic experience that is recognized as dragon-hearted experience, part of the other-hearted label. To be dragon-hearted means to identify with dragons, rather than as a dragon. Dragon-hearted individuals feel connected to dragons, or a kinship relationship with dragons, their image, their mannerisms, their instincts, or their general experiences. Individuals who are dragon-hearted will fall under the wider label of draconic and experience of Draconity as a whole. Dragon-hearted experience it's valid. It's just as valid as experience with being dragonkin, dragonkind, other kind. It's not a lesser experience. It's very much a valid experience, as valid as dragonkind experience. An important note to consider in these writings, or in this panel in this case, is the fact that not everyone who is defined as draconic, or fits with the definition of draconic, needs to be a dragon or a dragonkind in order to be considered as such. The term draconic simply means relating to dragons or the experiences of dragons. It does not mean being a dragon. To experience Draconity is not, like I said before, is not just the experience of being a dragon, but also simply identifying with dragons and draconic phenomena. Like is the case with my werewolf stereotype, Narok. She is not a dragon, though she is considered draconic in the way that she identifies with the draconic experience, rather than as a dragon. So, onto awakening and questioning, this part of the panel or the writings of Lyco-Draconic Werewolf's Comprehensive Guide to the Draconic Experience. So, what is an awakening? An awakening is defined as the point in an individual's life where they realize that they are something other than human, in the case of other kind experience, or something other than themselves as they are now, in the case of wider alter-human experience. There is a subsection of alter-human experience which is defined as other human experience, meaning that an individual identifies as another human as they are now, whether that be fact kind or fiction kind or whatever. They are still valid experiences. Let's see, where am I on my script? The awakening process can take place at any point in an individual's life and be invoked by any number of events in an individual's life. Some individuals believe that they were born awakened. Some individuals awaken at some point in their childhood or youth. Some individuals awaken as adults. There are many different ways to experience awakening. It's unique and individual for everyone. Sometimes awakenings can be difficult experiences to navigate, which is why there exist a number of resources in the other kind community, such as this resource here, to help individuals navigate these new experiences and come to terms with who they truly are. To individuals who are in the process of questioning whether or not they are draconic, it is important to question at one's own pace. There is never any rush to discover who you are. There is also no set way to discover yourself or awaken as yourself, despite what some in the community may say. Discover yourself at a pace that feels most comfortable to you. Ask yourself questions about who you feel you are, if you are comfortable with that, and take time to process the feelings that come your way. I lost my place. Definitely do not be afraid to ask others for advice or help regarding the path of self-discovery. Be careful who you ask about awakenings, though, because there are some people in the wider alter-human community, the other kind community, or the dragonkind community who will try to dictate your path of self-discovery or force their own personal truth onto you and try to influence who you are, so be wary of that. Lost my place again. The eventual solid realization that one is draconic can take place over the course of a few days, weeks, months, or even years. The awakening process is unique and different for every individual. There are no defined correct ways or proper times for an individual to experience their non-human awakening. This next part is just a relay of what I said about being wary about who you ask about awakening. Since again, there are individuals in the dragonkind communities who try to ascribe themselves as authorities, community pillars, or self-proclaim themselves to be grey muzzles that claim to be authorities on draconic identities and draconic experience. Be wary of those people. Many dragonkind who are newly awakened or questioning their draconity often or sometimes encounter feelings of not being draconic enough, or feeling like their draconic identity is too different from every other draconic identity in the community or experience to feel welcome within the wider dragonkind community. Puppy, what you doing? I am here to tell you that those feelings of being an invalid dragon are false. If one calls themselves a dragon, then they are a dragon. If one believes their experiences and identity fit with the term draconic, then they are draconic. Dragons are an incredibly unique, varied, and diverse group of beings that should not be placed into boxes and defined by only a few forms. Thanks D&D and draconic media. I can assure you that if you identify as draconic or dragonkind, you are in fact draconic enough and just as much as a dragon as everyone else in the draconic community. Elitist or exclusionist individuals in the dragonkind community may try to push their closed-minded and harmful views on other individuals with the dragonkind community, or onto you, though it is vital to block out the ignorance spewed by elitists in the dragonkind community, not only out of principle, though also out of respect for oneself and one's unique experiences with draconity. As I stated before, it is important to recognize that dragons, as an entire group of beings or creatures, cannot just be categorized into a few simple forms. There also exists no true dragons. All dragons, regardless of what they look like, how different they are from many other dragons, or how they experience draconity, are in fact true dragons, despite what draconic elitists and gatekeepers will tell you. Many individuals outside the other kind scene will also push the true dragon fallacy onto others when speaking about what is a quote-unquote true dragon and what is not. As many of you know, this happens in the D&D community, the Skyrim community, the whole, oh, Skyrim dragons aren't dragons, they're wyverns whole discourse. Best to ignore those people. The pushing of the true dragon fallacy commonly happens when individuals choose to differentiate Western-style dragons with 4 legs and 2 wings, from other kinds of dragons, labeled wyverns, worms, Eastern dragons, amphitheaters, etc., and argue that Western dragons are the only quote-unquote true dragons. It is heavily advised not to listen to individuals who dictate the notions that true dragons need to be Western dragons or Eastern dragons or whatever the hell they consider a true dragon. It is especially important to ignore these fallacies when questioning a draconic kin type. All draconic experiences are unique, individual, and deserve to be recognized, no matter how different they are from traditional dragon experiences, per se. Uncovering specific details regarding one's draconic self can be very difficult and even frustrating. Almost all of us only have memories to go on, and sometimes those memories are very scarce. Many dragonkind struggle with remembering specific details about what their kin type looked like, what their kin type did or does in their past or concurrent life, the details of the landscape plane their kin type dwelled in, and other specific details regarding their identity or kin type. There is no proper way to discover details regarding one's draconic kin type. Sometimes memories come easily for some individuals. Sometimes they are very scarce and hard to come by. Common ways individuals try to discover details about one's kin type include watching media containing dragons or other non-human creatures, reading books with dragons, searching on the internet for dragon or creature images or pictures that may invoke past memories, and doing deep introspection or meditation sessions in an attempt to uncover past life memories. It is important to note that all the methods I just mentioned are not the only ways to discover things about oneself, nor do they work for everyone who identifies as other kind or draconic. Just do whatever feels comfortable to you. There's never any obligation to follow the traditional way of discovering oneself or recovering past life memories or whatever. Again, just do whatever you feel is best for your path of self-discovery and your draconity. Self-discovery for other kind of dragonkind does not stop after the initial awakening process. Even beyond the stages of awakening, one will always walk the path of self-discovery, similar to how all people continue to gain knowledge and discover aspects of themselves that they did not know of before throughout the course of their lives. Everyone always learns new things. I am always learning new things. This is pretty much the same with other kinity and draconic identity. There's always something learned to new about oneself. It is important to be open-minded about oneself, and sometimes be open to doubts that may potentially lead to new discoveries about oneself. I say potentially question doubts because a lot of times doubts about one's identity are false, though it's different for everyone, so question doubts at the pace you feel comfortable with. You don't have to question doubts if you don't want to or don't feel comfortable with. It's whatever you want to do. Let's see, self-discovery is like it. See, even during years, I think I elaborated on this. Even during years past an individual's awakening as dragonkind, many individuals encounter feelings of doubts regarding their kin type, experience, and sense of identity. Some encounter thoughts and feelings state that one is lying to themselves about being draconic, or that one is quote-unquote living in a fantasy. While some doubts are worth acknowledging and reflecting on, it is important to counter the doubts stating that one is simply quote-unquote lying to oneself about their non-humanity or experiences with non-humanity. These doubts of, I believe is it called imposter syndrome? I don't know. Those doubts are 99% wrong, and it's best to counter those doubts. So again, everyone just has to do what they feel is most comfortable. I am scatterbrained. See, no matter where an individual is on their path to knowing themselves, finding a positive, accepting support group is a wonderful way to help both questioning dragonkind and established dragonkind discover who they are. Positive draconic spaces have the benefit of containing avenues to ask for advice on specific aspects of draconity, having a community where individuals can share their experiences with draconity and connect with one another, and having avenues to make lifelong friends with fellow dragons. And also just having a general community of trusted individuals that one can turn to whenever an individual needs any kind of support or whenever they're going through a difficult time. Being in a toxic or elitist space can have the opposite effect of the aforementioned. So it is important to find positive spaces with a good reputation rather than staying in spaces that have been known to foster unacceptable behavior or a toxic environment. I speak from experience. Toxicity is not fun to deal with. Let's see. Now on to draconic phenomena and experiences. Before I describe all of these topics, I will probably mention it before as I'm reading off my script, though these experiences that I will be detailing are not required for anyone who is dragonkind, They are simply just common experiences that many dragonkind experience. They're not required to be considered valid as someone who identifies as dragonkind. So, common experiences many dragonkind will encounter throughout the course of their questioning process and awakening are past life, concurrent life, or future life memories, astral or phantom appendages that conform to the bodily features one's draconic kintype once had or currently has, draconic instincts or urges that stem from one's draconic kintype or draconic self, and a general draconic-like mindset in one's current life that affects everyday life. It is important to note, however, again, as I stated earlier, that these are only some experiences, a considerable amount of dragonkind experiences. They are not representative of everyone who is dragonkind or identifies as draconic. Regardless of one's experience of draconity, it is always important to recognize, as I have stated before, though it is important to state over and over again, that each experience with non-humanity or other humanity is unique and individualized. No one individual experiences the exact same phenomenon in the exact same way that another individual experiences. Oftentimes, many individuals who experience draconity find that their mindset and ways of thinking are altered by their draconic kintype or draconic experiences. Many individuals who identify as draconic often feel that their tastes in food, comfort, hobbies, and media have been shaped by being dragonkind or by their draconic intype. Did I say intype? I meant kintype. Catering to these predefined tastes can often invoke draconic feelings or memories, or some kind of species euphoria, which is why many dragonkind, including myself, continue to indulge in said tastes. These draconic curations. Why did I describe it like that? Curations. Okay, I guess draconic curations, that's an interesting word. These draconic curations and tastes can go so far as to define an individual's romantic tastes in either humans, dragons, or other draconic identifying individuals. Some dragonkind have described being attracted to only other dragons or only other kind due to having pre-existing preferences to non-humans. Being draconic can also shape an individual's general worldview, actions, and general beliefs, though for some, draconity doesn't really influence much about their lives. It is different for everyone. Now on to memories. Memories from one's draconic self often manifest at random times, during specific activities, like watching TV or movies, walking, hiking in nature, journaling, drawing, exercising, etc., 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 or during meditation and deep thought. Those are not the only ways that memories from one's draconic self appear, though. These kind of memories can be as vivid and lucid as experiences in everyday life, feel more akin to what one would see and feel during a dream, be as faint as an old, faded memory, or be entirely non-visual. Some common kinds of memories many dragonkind individuals encounter have to do with the natural habitat, territory, or home one's draconic kintype once inhabited, or currently does inhabit due to having a concurrent life. Hunting or gathering food in one's former territory or home, encountering unique or interesting beings or animals not of this earth, or encountering other dragon, or memories of encountering other dragons individuals have met or once met in their lives. Again, it is important to note that not everyone who is draconic or dragonkind has memories of previous draconic experiences, or draconic memories of the specific type that I just described. Oh boy, lost my place. There we go. Much of what was described about memories formerly, again, does not apply to everyone who identifies as dragonkind, or other kind really. Not having past life or concurrent life memories does not make someone any less draconic or dragonkind than those who do have draconic memories. Memories, again, are not required to be considered valid as a dragon. It is simply a common experience described by many individuals in the community. Some individuals who are draconic, again, do not have memories at all, though rather intrinsic knowledge or inherent knowledge of their draconic kintype and the aspects of their life. Intrinsic knowledge is essentially inherent knowing of what an individual does or experience without having audible or visual memories. Let's see. Some individuals have inherent or intrinsic knowledge regarding the visuals of their draconic kin type, the details of the life they have lived, and other varied details of their draconic life. This kind of knowledge about one's identity is just as valid as past life or concurrent life memories. And I'm going to take a drink of water. 1 sec. Oh yeah, water is good. Water time. Let's see. Okay, phantom and astral appendages are an interesting phenomenon. Many dragonkind of the draconic community experience phantom or astral limbs in the form of feeling vestigial, discarnate, or intangible wings, horns, claws, tails, and other bodily features or aspects one kin type has or has had. Phantom appendage sensations experienced by other kind are admittedly different than the way people who have lost physical limbs in this life experience the phantom limb sensation. I'll say most phantom appendage sensations experienced by other kind are a more euphoric experience, while the phantom limb sensation experienced by amputees upon this earth is considered more distressing or associated with a very specific kind of pain. I thought that was an important nuance to mention. Let's see, blah blah blah. Feeling these non-human phantom appendages often invoke and empower non-human instincts within an individual. They commonly appear during phantom shifts or many other. Yeah, you get what I mean. Another interesting experience many dragonkind or otherwise draconic identifying individuals may encounter throughout the course of their lives are dreams altered by the existence of their draconic kin type or draconic experiences. Sometimes individuals can recover memories by dreaming about particular moments they experienced as a dragon, discover specific figures they knew as a dragon by dreaming about the memories of said figures, or just end up dreaming about dragons or scenarios with dragons that end up reminding an individual of themselves. Not everyone has the ability to dream like this, though. I don't have the ability to dream like this. I've never lucid dreamed in my life. My dreams are very abstract and strange due to my mental health. So, blah, no dreams for this bean. Sometimes in rare lucid dreams, individuals may end up dreaming about scenarios where they are their draconic kin type once again, living as who they truly are once again. These dreams of living as one's draconic self are often described as very euphoric experiences and are looked back on very positively. Okay, more water. Because my panels are usually so long, I think water is just going to become a recurring theme. Let's see. Draconic instincts. How to deal with satisfying draconic instincts can be difficult. Strong non-human instincts of a draconic nature often appear at entirely random points in the day or night, or during activities that invoke said draconic instincts. Dealing with these instincts is different for everyone, as each draconic kin type is unique in their own way. Since I'm wateroni. Some common ways of many dragonkind individuals satisfy their draconic instincts are consuming certain foods that satisfy specific cravings, engaging in physical activities like walking, nature hiking, bike riding, or otherwise working out, watching visual media containing dragons or other draconic-like creatures, and listening to specific types of music that invoke draconic feelings in someone. Engaging in different activities, seeing what activities invoke or satisfy draconic instincts are a good way to figure out, again, what activities or actions create species euphoria so they can be repeated again in the future if one wants to feel species euphoria. See, the activities and methods I mentioned and I just described are not the only ways to satisfy draconic instincts. Let's see, lost my place. Nor are they the most effective methods for everyone who identifies as draconic. Again, everyone who identifies as Draconic deals with their instincts and urges differently. It is also important to note that not every individual who identifies as Draconic needs to experiences. Actually, hold on, I'm going to restart that. It is also important to note that not every Draconic identifying individual experiences Draconic urges or the need to sate them. As with past life and concurrent life memories, not everyone who is dragonkind needs to experience Draconic instincts for their identity or kintype to be valid or be considered valid. Instincts do not have to be experienced by everyone. Like I said before. Let's see. Species dysphoria. Species dysphoria. If you don't want to hear about species dysphoria and the distress that can be caused by it, feel free to step out of the panel. I will also be describing some mental health issues that are associated with species dysphoria, so if you do not want to listen to that, then feel free to step out of the panel. I will be very vague, though, so I don't imagine any wording I will say will be upsetting or triggering. However, just in case, feel free to step out of the panel. Species dysphoria and a longing for one's home and true worlds. Species dysphoria and a longing for one's home worlds and true selves can be common among dragonkind. The effects of species dysphoria and the longing for one's true body, true home, or other abilities of their true self can sometimes lead to depression, anxiety, and other negative mental symptoms within an individual. Longing for one's true body, homeworld, and past abilities can sometimes consume an individual's life to the point where psychological treatments or medications are needed to deal with the depressive and anxiety-inducing symptoms taking over one's life. There are different ways to deal with species dysphoria. However, said ways of dealing with such are different for each individual. For some species dysphoria, it is easy to deal with or ignore, while for some species dysphoria is very difficult to ignore. Let's see. Dealing with species dysphoria can be as simple as engaging in the methods and activities described in the previous paragraph regarding draconic instincts, or it can be as difficult as dealing with things like severe depression or severe anxiety. If you ever find that species dysphoria is inhibiting your ability, or greatly inhibiting your ability to experience positive emotions, deeply affecting your relationships with your friends, family, and other loved ones, or if species dysphoria is making you feel that life as a human is no longer worth living, please reach out to a mental health professional. Please do reach out to a mental health professional to see if they can help you deal with those feelings in any way. Or in lesser severe cases, feel free to reach out to a positive draconic support group or a positive otherkin support group, whichever you feel most comfortable with. A lot of times, positive support groups are especially important for many dragonkind, since having a space to express one's draconity and connect with other individuals like them makes their individual experience less lonely, and can make dealing with species dysphoria easier to deal with. I think I stated this before in these writings, though in case I didn't. Otherkinity and draconity can manifest into plural systems. System members can experience the same non-human phenomena that physical otherkind individuals experience throughout the course of their lives or their existence. It is important to remember that system members are individuals like anyone else, and deserve to be treated with the same respect one would give anyone else. System members, depending on their experiences with draconity or otherkinity, can also refer to the methods I mentioned before, if they feel it helps them discover their otherkind or draconic identity, or if it helps them if it helps them discover more about their identity. I think I just said that, though. Yeah. Let's see. Blah, blah, blah. Draconity and the experience of draconic phenomena do not only manifest in dragonkinds or dragons as stated previously, though also draconity identifies in individuals with animal, mythic, or humanoid kin types who identify with dragons, identify with the phenomena experienced by dragons, or have a general connection to dragons as their true self or kin type. Like, someone who has a birdkin type, who feels that their birdkin type is connected to Draconity, can identify as Draconic. It is an experience that is sadly not often described in the community, though an experience that deserves to be recognized nonetheless. Now on to Draconic or Draconic spirituality. A select few dragonkind within the Draconic communities are walking their own unique spiritual path, tying their experiences with Draconity into their practices. Tying experience with Draconity into their practices. Beginning to walk a Draconic spiritual path is different for everyone. For some, it can be easy. For some, it can be difficult. For some, it can be exhausting. It depends on the experience. Tying Draconity into spirituality can sometimes be euphoria-inducing and rewarding for dragonkind who seek to connect with their Draconic side more often. Really, the best spiritual advice one can adhere to is to practice what feels comfortable for one, or what one feels is best for connecting with their spirituality. Not every spiritual path needs to be filled with meditation, astral traveling, working with spirits, or even worshiping deities. One also does not need to have a strict ritual calendar that they need to adhere to regularly. In fact, sometimes adhering to a strict ritual calendar or a ritual schedule. Puppy, what you doing? Puppy, come here, puppy. Sorry, the dog's barking. Puppy, come here, puppy. Okay, where was I at? Hi, puppy. One does not need to practice a specific ritual calendar or a ritual schedule in order to have a valid spiritual path. In fact, sometimes having a great puppy made my being lose where I am. Having a strict ritual calendar or a ritual schedule can sometimes make an individual feel better or make them feel more connected with their spirituality, though for others, it can be exhausting or lead to burnout or otherwise disinterest to engage in spirituality. You don't have to. Puppy really messed up my place. You don't have to follow a strict spiritual calendar or ritual schedule. It can be harmful for sometimes, so just do whatever you feel comfortable in your spiritual path. Like I said, not every spiritual path needs to be filled with meditation, astral traveling, or working with spirits. Just do whatever you feel comfortable with in your spiritual path. Sometimes spiritual paths can be more casual in nature, just simply as recognizing one's reverence towards specific elements or deities casually on a daily basis. Just lighting a candle each day in reverence towards a specific element or entity, or giving a small devotional or prayer to a specific being every day or at the end of the week or at every month, whatever you feel comfortable with. See, I think I mentioned this before, though it's on the script, so again, being Draconic can sometimes shape an individual's entire viewpoint on spirituality and the existence of the world. Being Draconic can sometimes shape an individual's entire viewpoint to... Sorry, I'm petting the dog right now. Being Draconic may end up creating pre-existing preferences for an individual regarding spirituality, rituals, and which gods or spirits they choose to revere. As detailed earlier in these writings, being Draconic can heavily influence an individual's taste and comfort. This also applies to spirituality, spiritual preferences, and ritualistic preferences. For some dragonkind, being Draconic or being a dragon is a deeply spiritual experience that some wish to explore. Sorry, I have to close the door. That some wish to explore by engaging in spiritual paths that may help individuals discover more about their Draconic selves. See, practicing spirituality can sometimes help dragonkind identifying individuals discover who they are, or discover more about their Draconity, recover memories of who they were as a dragon, or help them feel more in tune with their Draconic side. Many individuals who practice spirituality, Draconic paths or not, detail that deep meditation by candlelight, sitting in silence after a ritual, asking revered spirits or deities for guidance, and astral projecting have helped them discover vital details regarding their Draconity. These These specific, what I mentioned does not work for everyone, though. Sometimes practicing rituals or using specific materials in said rituals can invoke phantom shifts, memories, or other interesting phenomena, kind of exclusive to other kind, dragonkind, or draconic identifying individuals. It is important to note, however, that these methods of discovering oneself will not work for everyone who identifies as draconic or other kind. Individuals must discover themselves what rituals, materials, beliefs, and practices work best for them and make them feel most spiritually connected with themselves and the aspects of they revere, if they choose to practice a spiritual path. Water time. Sorry if I'm kind of scatterbrained. The dog made my being lose focus on my panel script. Many, though not all, individuals who practice Draconic spiritual paths work with or encounter dragon guardians that seek to work with the individuals they encounter. Working with spiritual Draconic guardians is the same, really, as working with any other kind of spiritual guardian or metaphysical entity. Setting out offerings, engaging in meditation in order to contact said guardian, starting rituals in an attempt to contact said guardian, or simply calling out to said guardian is a good way to attract them. There is no one way to contact spiritual guardians, however. Just do what feels best for you. It is also important to recognize that working with spiritual guardians or gods is like choosing the people you hang around with. You want the people you hang around with to be respectful of you, respectful of your time, and understanding of you when you are not feeling well or when you have other obligations. If you work with a spirit that, well, does not respect you, then that is not good for you. So you have every right to be picky about which spirit or entity you choose with. This includes Draconic guardians. Choose your guardians like you choose your people. Choose people or guardians who respect you and understand you. There do exist books and websites that detail specific sectors and beliefs regarding Draconic spirituality. However, sadly, most of these sources are either not reputable sources or present the author's personal viewpoints as absolute fact. Avoid resources written by websites detailing conspiracy theories, resources written by the author DJ Conway, and sites that seek to dictate how others should go about practicing their draconic path. It is best to do what one feels right for their spiritual practices, or ask open-minded individuals for advice on what rituals, materials, and wordings to use in one's spiritual path. I'm sure when I mentioned DJ Conway, some of you were like, ugh, that person. In my spiritual panel at 6 o'clock CST, I will be going into some of DJ Conway's misinformation and draconic spiritual paths in general, so look forward to that. Now on to draconic language and communication. Though the experience that will be detailed further is a more uncommon experience in the dragonkind community, it is still an experience that deserves to be recognized and appreciated. Some draconic identifying individuals distinctly remember having spoken a unique draconic language in their past lives or concurrent lives, some being more complex and difficult to remember than others. Draconic languages can be complex as having detailed alphabets and wordings that follow very strict grammatical rules, as unique as musical tones and frequencies used to communicate phrases and thoughts, or as simple as guttural growls and clicks with specific tones and frequencies used to portray messages or wordings. It is interesting. What I just described, though, those are not the only kinds of draconic languages or communication. They are just some that I have seen described in the community. Let's see. Journaling your experiences with Draconity and your own knowledge about Draconity is a wonderful way to not only connect with your draconic self, but also lead to productive archiving of certain periods in one's life. Journaling one's experiences with Draconity can not only lead oneself to discover something new about oneself that they did not know before, though it may... Wait, did I type the same sentence twice on this? Okay, yeah. Journaling one's experiences with Draconity can not only lead oneself to discover something about oneself that they did not know previously, though it can also just be interesting to look back on past periods in an individual's life during their awakening or period of self-discovery. Journaling can Journaling is also valuable for documenting important thoughts or details about oneself that are at risk of being forgotten. Additionally, this activity ties in discovering details about one's draconic language or ways of communication. If you want to write down a word that pops into your mind regarding your draconic language, write it down regardless of whether or not it's right so you can reflect on it later. That's just one way, though. Common ways to discover details of one's draconic language or ways of communication that have worked for some individuals involve looking at different earthen languages or fictional languages in media or ones that are spoken upon this earth and seeing what feels right. There are no established ways to discover one's draconic languages, as memories and intrinsic knowledge are all others really have to refer to, sadly. Now to talk about the dreaded draconic elitism in toxicity. Draconic elitism is sadly a very common occurrence within the dragonkind community. Many draconic gatekeepers attempt to question one's own draconity, create toxic echo chambers filled with elitists, and show unacceptable behavior towards others who do not conform to their views. During the beginning of the online dragonkind community, late 1990s to early 2000s, many elitists would publicly engage in the blatant, unwelcoming grilling of someone's experiences with draconity, their awakening, and their draconic identity in general, on forums, IRC chat rooms, and general spaces that were more active in the 1990s and 2000s. I would even imagine that in some cases, grilling and elitism took place through email. That's just an assumption of mine, though. During this period, grilling someone was considered a little bit more acceptable among specific community members, and was not really as denounced as it was in the present day. In the present day, the dragonkind communities like 2010s to 2020s, unwelcome community grilling on one's draconic identity does not take place as often as it did in the past on forums, IRC chat rooms, and other sites and spaces on the internet that have been used in the past, really because those kinds of internet spaces have disappeared or fallen out of favor. Draconic elitism and toxicity still happens at the pace it happened before in the beginning of the community, just often in private, non-public spaces like Discord servers, Telegram chats, and other private chat rooms, in the form of moderate inquisitioning on behalf of either one person in a space or a group, or on the side of multiple people. Moderators of said spaces often turn away from the unacceptable behavior happening in their servers, or encourage said behavior with either negligence or support of said behavior. Some moderators also refuse to take criticism regarding how they run their servers. And if the servers are negative spaces, and if someone speaks up on how a server is a negative space respectfully, a lot of times moderators will think that said criticisms are gaslighting or harassment when it's really not, you know. I've had that happen to my being before when not in my spaces though, when I have opened up about negative experiences to moderators in their servers, they just took the criticism as a personal offense, which is not good. If someone has a negative experience in your space, you should listen to them and listen to their respectful criticisms and not rub them off as some attacker or whatever, you know. Let's see. Dealing with draconic elitism and toxic behavior from the members of the draconic community after uncomfortable events have happened can be incredibly difficult to deal with. Since positive, non-elitist dragonkind spaces are so difficult to find, elitism is very common for many dragonkind identifying individuals to encounter. Many who have experienced toxic behavior from elitists find it very difficult to feel comfortable in draconic spaces again, and in the wider dragonkind community as a whole. I know this feeling personally because I have had a lot of bad experiences in other kind of spaces, blah. Just if you have experienced draconic elitism and feel uncomfortable with engaging in the wider draconic community anymore, just take your time feeling comfortable with the wider draconic community again. and recognize that it is okay to feel the way you do regarding draconic spaces again. It is also perfectly okay and understandable to never wish to be around the wider dragonkind community again after experiencing elitism, toxicity, and closed-mindedness from individuals in said parts of the community. No one wants to experience elitism, and no one wants to experience elitism after experiencing it again. Like, no one wants to go through that experience again and again, so perfectly understandable if you do not want to experience bad community experiences, you know? See, elitism is not the only major issue that lingers within the dragonkind community. There also exist draconic identifying individuals who express very extraordinary claims regarding when the world will end, astral war, conspiracy theories, dragon gods or councils having rule over this universe, and other extraordinary claims of the same manner. They also continually announce their perceived divinity and perceived godlike status on a daily basis in an attempt to express authority onto others. These individuals additionally express their beliefs onto others in an attempt to invalidate the draconity of others and or convert others to their beliefs and personal truth. It is heavily advised to distance oneself from these kinds of individuals and the spaces they are allowed to stay in. Generally, they are not pleasant people to be around. See, if you are thinking about running a dragonkind space of your own, there are quite a few important things to remember. It is important to be accepting and open of all the varieties of draconic and dragonkind experience, especially ones that are not doing harm to anyone. If someone takes an issue with the environment of your space, the way you moderate, or your words in heated situations, do your best not to ignore the concerns of those members. Listen to them and take their words as a sign to reflect on your moderation and improve as an individual, even if these wordings may sometimes be hurtful. The important thing in a space is to make sure that it does not foster any negativity and instead encourages positivity. Do not refuse criticism of your moderation and your space. Do not see said criticism of your space as personal attacks, gaslighting, or unwarranted. And certainly don't silence members of your space who have come with you with their concerns. It can be difficult to take criticism, though ultimately a space is made for other individuals to have a positive environment where they can interact and enjoy themselves. Denying criticism of moderation and a server environment as a whole does no good to anyone, especially the space. Moderators cannot know how to improve their moderation, behavior, or the space they run if they do not take criticism or if they disallow said criticism. The phrasing in this paragraph may sound harsh, however, such information is important to know. Like for my being, I like to think that the Celestial Spire is a very positive space. Though, like with any space, there's always going to be friction, so it's important for my being to listen to the concerns of other members, to make sure everyone is heard in the situation, and to make sure I do what I can to make sure that the space is as positive as possible. I cannot refuse criticism just because I personally do not want to hear it. If I want to make the space positive for everyone, I need the input of everyone, you know? A space is not run just for moderators, though for everyone in the space. Having some Draconity resources on the resource I'm reading. And as an ending note, please remember that all of the information contained within these writings will not necessarily work for everyone who is Draconic. It will not always apply to everyone who is Draconic, nor does it entirely represent the vast uniqueness of Draconity or Dragonkind experiences as a whole. Think of these writings, and this panel really, as a bare-bones template to have unique experiences, terminology, and definitions added as time goes on. If you feel that there is some important information I forgot to add to my comprehensive guide, or something you believe that I should elaborate in on this panel, feel free to message my being, ping my being, come up on stage and speak, or talk in the chat room, detailing what you would like to see added, elaborate on, or that is pretty much all I have on my script, so I will now be allowing others to come up and speak on stage if they have any questions, if they have any comments, or whatever, really. So feel free to come up and speak on stage, and one of us will allow you to come on and speak. You can do the raise your hand. It's the little hand button, I think, that allows you to speak on the stage. For now, I will read the chat until anyone wants to come up and speak, or see if there's anything I missed throughout the course of the panel. Lim. Lim, hello.
Hey, it me again.
Hello.
Uh, if if I ramble too much, maybe then just interrupt me. I have a couple of thoughts actually. But first of all, thanks for another very inspiring panel. I think you've mentioned quite a lot of things that would warrant an own panel. Yeah. uh, and just a couple of thoughts. One of the things you mentioned were doubts. Uh, Doubts are actually, well, it's a natural thing, I think, especially for me since I am a scientist. So I'm supposed to be skeptic. And first and foremost, I'm skeptical of my own work. So doubts is a big topic for me. I always need some reconfirmation. I also know that I have a very lively and very strong imagination that can go more or less haywire. So yeah, I always feel that I might just imagine things. One way, of course, is dreaming. And what you said actually reminded me of one dream of mine, and I was a dinosaur. And actually, that was a super incredibly intense dream. It was a few years ago. So I've lived through actually a whole life, apparently, of a dinosaur. And when I came back to this world, so to say, so in other words, when I awoke the next morning, I was just totally stunned and almost, well, or more or less forgot about this reality here. But so far, I think it's just a dream. However, recently in meditation, I also had some kind of vision that I led a life as a dinosaur. And then you add up another thing, because I think that I'm a kind of Earth or life guardian who comes to Earth at any time when there is a great transition. For example, mass extinction or the great asteroid hit in that ended actually the dinosaur era, or also what we have now. So all of these things counted together, they to me they give some kind of consistent picture, and that is somehow a way of relieving the doubts. Also, it explains certain things. For example, that I'm so calm in stressful times, and also that I just feel that I've lived through times like these today. I've lived through them before, and I also feel that I kind of see what's coming. So that's just a feeling that hovers somewhere, and that assumption that I've been here at transitional times, it backs this up. Yeah, I mean there's no proof, of course. I think that there cannot be a proof, but that's the case for many things that are consciously experienced. Yeah, if I eat a piece of chocolate, I can tell you, okay, this taste of chocolate, but I cannot prove it. Yeah, but still, there is no doubt in that. And yeah, so that was just a little a bit of thinking about that topic.
Yeah, that's fair. Thank you for sharing. Alcura and Cyrenax, did y'all want to say something?
Good morning. Is my voice coming in clearly?
Yes.
Right. So yeah, I've been listening in so far and I've appreciated a lot of what you've said. Now, I do agree with the notion that if you do believe you are, therefore you are. It's a very linear train of logic which makes sense. My concern, however, is sorry, one sec. Apologies for that. My concern primarily comes in at truth to oneself. Now, there's been more instances than not, especially in recent times, with how the community has, say, spread on platforms such as TikTok and Instagram, where people will jump to a conclusion of something they identify as, where realistically that's not the situation. How do we approach that? For lack of better words, how do we approach that whilst balancing acceptance in the process?
For my being, I suppose that would be kind of difficult to. I spaced out. I'm sorry. What was the exact question again?
All right. It's a little hard to word as well, so apologies for that.
No worries.
Essentially, um, acceptance of oneself and appreciating of the draconic identity is a very positive move to make. However, how do you like? What are your beliefs in terms of balancing that with effectively being true to yourself? So, speaking from what I've witnessed in recent years, a lot of people will jump onto the identity of Draconity, of anything within the ultra human umbrella, really. They will realize that they aren't actually these identities from a very early stage on, but they will continue to press on with, the outward image that they are. I'm not saying fakers or anything necessarily like that, but it's a very hard thing to word. Um, I guess I'll try to cut to the chase. How do we encourage people to be honest with themselves on their journey of self-discovery?
I get what you mean. In regards to labels, my lord, I am scatterbrained. The whole labels and terminology, there is a lot of nuance to be discussed with that.
Mm,
A lot of individuals in the other kind community feel that labels are super important, and other times individuals feel that labels are not as important. Sometimes, a lot of times, there are too many labels in the community, and maybe someone else can answer this for my being. I'm kind
mm,
of scatterbrained right now for
that's okay.
my
I
being.
I could possibly help. In the idea of just helping someone be more honest with themselves is really all you can do is be a friend. Listen to them when they talk about their identity and their struggles with it, and offer your thoughts, your advice if they need it, really. Going through a lot when it comes to finding yourself can be very overwhelming and confusing. And all we can do as a community is, well, be a community. Be there for each other, take care of each other, and support each other when needed. And that's all I really had to say on that.
Yeah, that's understandable, friend.
Hmm.
All we can really do is just support others.
Unfortunately so. I mean, sorry. Fortunately so. It's more unfortunate that we don't have a more direct way of helping people really find out about themselves. But that is ultimately the nature of coming to understand your own identity. It's always a journey and mistakes can be made. That's
Oh yeah.
yeah. That's pretty much what I wanted to say. Catch me at what was it? 12 p.m. Central Standard Time on Monday.
Yeah, close encounters of the dragonkind. Yee.
See y'all then. Thank you for hearing me out.
Of course. Thank you for speaking.
Gladly.
Yeah, a lot of times in a journey of self-discovery, some individuals will they will try out certain labels and identify with themselves as such labels in an attempt to see what label feels right. I think that's a valid process of self-discovery. Like just testing out labels, seeing what feels right to you, you know.
May I bring up kind of like a point slash perspective real quick?
Sure, go for it.
Okay, thank you. And with everything already being said, and I kind of joined the panel a little late. I apologize.
No
Um,
worries.
the label thing, that the side of it, it is a huge factor because it depends on a lot of what labels are involved with your own personal life, what you choose to believe, what you want to have involved. And kind of piggybacking off Valkyria, really not only discovering, and you got to remember, I'm only a few months in, but it's a day-to-day, learning process. It's something that I believe personally, it's how committed you are, not only committed, but how well you feel towards it. And I can only imagine, in the beginning, yeah, it's like it was said, it can be confusing. It's kind of like you're in this broadened path now, and you're like, okay, I know where I'm at. How do I proceed? And it really comes down to just, I think, not only support, of course, from everyone else here and anyone else you can reach out to, or vice versa. It's also just staying as committed, because nothing is more truer than how you feel about it. It's everything and the world to have support from everyone else, and it does amplify it, and it does help in every aspect. But if it comes down to just that natural, you gotta, if you know it, you believe it, and you feel it, it'll be everlasting, and it's something that should be undying in a way. It should just be self-sustaining, if you will. But just from the few months I've been awakened about it, it really is something that can be probably kind of tricky, because it, depending on who like came about it, everyone comes about it in different ways, of course. I think it all ties down to that. And hearing all these different perspectives, and hearing, because I jumped in about 35 minutes ago, with getting in touch with the Draconic self, that there's not a set limit, it doesn't have to be meditation, it doesn't have to be this and that, because I naturally was like, okay, this is the one way I have to do it. But when you put it like the way you did, where you find your own way of doing it naturally, whether it be through everyday life things, whether it be through, meditation, or whatever the case is, as long as it's natural to you, that's the best way to go about it. So I just wanted to say on that note that that is really awesome to hear. I needed to hear that, because it really kind of opened up my mind a little bit, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, of course. I'm always
I
happy when. Oh, go ahead.
no, no, go on, please, yourself
Oh,
first.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna say that I'm always happy when these panels are able to invoke positive discussion and realizations about oneself.
Sure. I just wanted to comment as well. Saranex, for someone who's only been up and around for 3 months, you have very, very good insight, and I just wanted to pass on my compliments for that. Also, also on the note of like doing what's most natural to you, one of my chief methods of introspection was thinking about this stuff while playing very high-speed games of Tetris. So there is no limit to what actually works best for you.
Absolutely, I concur 110%. And I thank you. I appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I have never played Tetris before. Is it It's like one of
Oh,
those.
it's so.
Is it one of those like geometry games or something like that with the squares?
Mhm. You fill in the spaces, and then once you make that solid line, it like cancels out. So you just keep. Oh, it's such a simple game, but for some reason I can't describe it. But
No worries, I understand. Yeah, I mean, you can use literally anything to discover your draconic self. You know, sometimes memories and discoveries come from what are considered the most mundane things, you know. Try to think of
literally,
the mundane methods I have of discovering my true draconic self. Like, okay, I play Elder Scrolls a lot, and that helps my being discover my true draconian self just by interacting with the elf NPCs that I have an attraction to. It's my favorite. I am the stereotype of the dragon who loves elves way too much.
Yeah, that's way too much of a common trope in our community to be a sheer coincidence, I must comment.
Yeah, for sure. Elder Scrolls for life. I still need to play Skyrim. I still need to play Morrowind. I am suffering from Dagoth brain rot, so
and I got into Elder Scrolls just a little bit. And it was when it was first coming out, and there was already so many different quests to do, and I kind of just went back to Skyrim. I thought I'll just replay it for the 30th time. Go
that's
make
fair.
friends with Parthenax.
Parthenax!
Love Parthenax.
Yes. Alduin's pretty fine.
Oh yeah.
Okay, back on topic to like Draconity though. We're getting off topic into Elder Scrolls stuff. Um, yeah, there's really no one way to discover yourself or to discover your Draconity. It's really whatever works for you. It's different for everyone. Just test out things that you feel will help you discover yourself. Looking at chat. I saw forums mentioned. I think it is like some individuals in the community. I think it's very sad that forums have died out. It's it's sad. I'm sad that forums have died out because forums are good for discussion and you can always go back to that discussion when on Discord you can't really do that.
Well, hold on there a second. Draconity.org still exists. Okay, actually, granted, it's barely active. Yeah. Their Discord server is pretty active, but yeah, again, the forum is dead, so I will recede my points. Apologies.
It's okay. Yeah, sadly that most forums have died out. I have an other kind forum, Obsidian Spire, though. I admittedly haven't been active on it. I should be active on it more and sparking more discussion, though, you know. Sad the forums have died out. Wah. I mean, Discord servers are fun and all, and though, yeah, it's you can't return to old conversations. You can't necessarily have super deep conversations on Discord because of the letter limit and because topics can change so quickly.
Yeah. That, if I might add something here, that connects to what I was thinking about this morning. No, I'm the type of guy. I didn't do my own panel, but I'm already planning the next one. And I really think that we need to have a discussion panel about triggering topics and also elitism and anti-kin things and other topics that just are very delicate and tend to divide the community. And I think Discord is not actually the best software tool to work out conflict and opposing opinions and triggering topics because it's too fast. Yeah, I mean, and things can escalate too fast. Yeah, back then when I mean, Luunaathh, I was a moderator back the days when community was still online, and the thing is, a really good community, I believe, doesn't need moderation, because in a really good community there is a critical amount of users who are mindful enough to detect when there is an upcoming drama or problematic discussion, and will automatically, even if they are not moderators, will act de-escalating. So actually my I understand it as my main purpose as a moderator to empower the community to work out these things themselves. Yeah, because I'm also, as a scientist and engineer, I always try to build up self-sustaining systems. Yeah, so that's the best thing is if you don't have to moderate at all. Of course, okay, I will feel a bit bad because I'm moderator and not doing anything, but actually I think that's the best communities. But Discord is problematic because things escalate so quickly. You just need two people going against each other, and you have no chance for anybody else to barge in and to somehow moderate and handle it. I really think that forums are a much better tool. Yeah, so totally agree to your statement. It's really a shame that the forums die out. I think it leads to split up in the community. I mean, I know that I don't mean to say that I want to unify the community or something. I think it's not possible. So it's all right. It's all right if there are different communities, but I think Discord, I actually don't like it too much, if I'm honest.
Yeah, I completely understand what you're saying, especially since I've moderated the Spire for 4 years and I've been in and out of active Draconic spaces. I have seen firsthand how things can escalate. It's not fun. And certain servers that are active, certain other kin spaces, I'm not gonna name any names though. Sometimes things can escalate way too quickly, which turns into personal attacks, assumptions based on respectfully disagreeing, and it's sad. I don't want to say that disagreements have escalated as time has gone on, though I've definitely noticed that in the modern day of the other kind community, especially in the era of Discord, there has been a lot less willingness to respectfully disagree on a subject matter. Sometimes someone will be offended if someone disagrees on respectfully disagrees on a subject of other Kennedy terminology. God, the label discourse in the other King community is horrible. Basically, sometimes people see disagreements as a personal attack on them or on the community, and it's disappointing because just because someone disagrees in a respectful way, it's not a personal attack. It's not an automatic invalidation of beliefs, most of the time at least, and sometimes people get too heated. I know I get heated in arguments sometimes. A lot less than I used to, though. Admittedly, a large part of my thing is I have a mood disorder. I'm prone to outbursts because of my mental illness, though I do my best to control it, though I digress. It's just difficult to see that controversial topics that need to be discussed can't happen without someone blowing up or making personal attacks or seeing discussion of that topic as something bad. That's just my 2 cents on it, though.
I have been in communities where those discussions, in Discord communities in particular, where those discussions have been possible. My personal take on it is more that the community, especially in more recent years, has become less mature. By which I mean literally by age. As adults slash more mature members of this community, we are able to have civil discussions, but a lot of people in this community are these days are between the ages of 13 and 17, a prime point in human life where conflict resolution is not a skill that's been developed, or the ability to disagree is a skill that has been developed yet. No offense to anyone in that age range who's currently listening in. You guys are great for being here. Ultimately, even with the existence of forums, I still think that the idea of us being able to go back to a point where conflict resolution was ever possible is a very optimistic thought. And by optimistic in this case, I'm specifically meaning it might be too lofty of a goal for us to achieve. With the advent of with the departure from forums to social media, there was a permanent decay in the ability for these kinds of discussions to be had. And again, I personally tie it with a much younger audience being exposed to this very concept, which in of itself was a good thing in certain ways. Awareness at a younger age is always better. But naturally, when you have a less mature community, conflicts like this happen. And from what I can see, most people who enter this community leave before they turn 18. Thus, generally meaning we don't get a chance to have as many active mature members as we previously may have had. I hope this didn't sound like a ramble and kind of made sense.
No, it's okay. I understand exactly what you mean. Yeah, in my personal experience, I have noticed that there's been less and less willingness to respectfully disagree on topics, and things just naturally get more heated a lot of the times. And I mean, it's sad though. It's not much we can do other than curate our own spaces where mature, reasonable discussion about controversial topics can take place. Obviously, there is some nuance, like if someone is being blatantly inflammatory or offensive with their responses or disagreements, that's a different story, though a lot of the times that doesn't really happen. And most of the discourse I see take place on things like places like Tumblr or Twitter. Those sites are a whole can of worms. It just devolves into this heated mess of insults and passive aggressiveness, and it's just not a good thing. It's not a good thing for anyone. It's not a good reflection of the community. It's a sad thing all around, especially in regards to terminology discourse. And yeah, it's just not good.
Oh yeah. But to be entirely frank, our community hasn't looked good for well over a decade at this point, so
Yeah, this is true.
I've resigned to that aspect, to be entirely honest with you. Our public image, I would like it to improve, and there's ways for it to improve, but we're never going to have a pre transition to social media style recovery. That's kind of off. That's those cards no longer exist effectively, but
Yeah.
if someone can if someone can somehow I'm gonna start that sentence over again. If someone somehow manages to find the magic bullet that makes that gets everyone to cool their jets and have civil discourse all around the board, I mean, that would be beyond priceless. Now, with the idea of forming communities where such discourse can happen, this is also great, but those communities end up being ridiculously small, and at times will end up becoming echo chambers, which means that the idea of being able to debate things that you don't agree on goes out of the window as well. It's a real catch-22 that it seems like the only places in most communities where reasonable discourse can happen is the smallest ones around that nobody's heard about, and also those communities not willing to advertise to the outside world. I am in a couple of those myself, and yeah. I don't really have any further comments on that.
No worries, I understand. Yeah, it's mature spaces are so few and far between. In the Celestial Spire and here in the Summit, I like to think that we can have very civil discussions about controversial topics. Obviously, like with any large public server or event, sometimes things get heated, though as long as they can be handled and recognized, and heated discussions shut down quickly, it's not too much of an issue. So most large otherkin servers that I've been a part of and seen have a lot of difficulty with handling drama and heated discussions. Sometimes these servers let heated discussions continue onwards. Sometimes the moderators can continue with heated discussions and make negative experiences for members. It's just not a good thing all around, and just a negative experience for anyone involved. So shutting down heated discussion when it gets too heated and it starts devolving into insults or way too much anxiety, is shutting those down is very important.
Agreed.
Yeah, like with any community, there's always going to be friction, there's always going to be heated discussion, there's always going to be troublemaking members, though. What really sets a positive, mature space from the others is how the moderators and the members handle these kind of things.
Understood. Can I just make slightly pointed comments?
Go for it.
So I'm reading the panel discussion chat currently. If anyone has any issue with what we are currently discussing, please feel free to join in and speak up.
Yeah, that's fair. Amber's panel is going to be happening in about 30 minutes, though, so it'll probably have to be through text or group DMs.
Text is fine. I'm more respectfully speaking, I'm more inquisitive as to why, to quote, rehashing the topic is a bit of a problem in of itself. I personally see this as something that needs to be extensively discussed, because otherwise a resolution or a potential pathway to a resolution is not going to be found. It's a difficult topic to discuss, and there aren't many straightforward answers to it, but it needs to be mentioned. And to further no worries, Moss Hotel. But to further comment on your most recent message, we can talk all day about what the communities are doing right, because there is a lot, admittedly, but without discussing the problems, we're really just fooling ourselves into thinking that everything is okay. Positivity is great, mind you. I'm very appreciative of where we are currently as a wider community, even though we have a major share of issues. But that is the ultimate point here. We can't ignore those issues. These discussions have to happen, and apologies if some may not agree with those discussions happening, but it is the only way forward.
Yeah, I understand. That's your viewpoint, And yeah, I mean, discussions are important, even if they are difficult discussions to have.
Thanks for letting me stand on my soapbox there.
Of course. I mean, the summit is meant to provide as many different viewpoints as possible in the Draconic communities in a positive and civil manner, so we don't want this space or event to be an echo chamber, I mean, new viewpoints when presented respectfully, are always welcome to be presented for discussion, because no one likes echo chambers, I will go ahead and end the panel here, though. Amber's panel, Mapping Outer Space, an update on lucid dreaming, will be happening in 30 minutes. I will be setting up the stage for said panel in 20 minutes. Thank you all for coming. Thank you all for coming. Go ahead.
No, sorry, I just wanted to comment one thing quickly. If anybody is interested in an easy way to lucid dreaming, try mugwort tea. It helps, but that's all I'm going to comment because I am actually quite excited about the next panel. I'm going to shut up now.
It's okay. Yeah, lucid dreaming, fun. So again, thank you all for joining. We hope to see you all at the next panel, Amber's panel. I will be setting up the stage in about 10 minutes. And again, thank you all for your viewpoints, your opinions, your discussions. It is greatly appreciated. And now I will be quiet and get working on setting up the next panel. Again, thank you all for attending. It is much appreciated, and I enjoy doing this panel. If anyone wants to discuss any topics or debate, just feel free to tag my being, and I would be happy to speak. Okay, Milam, I'll shut up now. Bye, y'all.
Take care, all. See ya.